One, two, three. What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and I thought it'd be kind of funny to make a video telling you the story about the 1 gallon challenge. God, I miss my ex. I just wanted to say that. I felt like that needed to be said. Anyway, so we all go to, no, what was it? We all went to Henry Clay High School. All right, so myself, Paula, Sloan, Yates. Who all was there that day? Let's see, there was Dustin, there was Paulus, Sloan, and Yates. And I think maybe that was it. Just like, no, maybe it was just myself, Paulus, and Dustin, and Sloan. Because I remember Sloan was the one who drove his Cavalier. He had this green Cavalier back in the day. Maybe it was just him. I don't remember off the top of my head. I do remember the night we had the LAN party and we sudsed the fountain. And it ended up being like Clark and everybody, and Dustin and all them. I don't know whatever happened to Clark. Guy vanished off the face of the world. LAN parties were it back in the day. Like back in the day, LAN parties were the jam. Anyway, so it's like 3 days before the end of summer, right? Or I'm sorry, the end of the school year going into summer, right? And like we had junior English together, which is where we all met, and or at least where I met all of them. And we did a couple. There were some really cool things we did that day. We made like rum flavored ice cream. Like it wasn't actually alcoholic; it just had the flavor of rum. We did that in chemistry class, which was actually really fun. I had Coach Ratliff; he was a really cool teacher. But anyway, we ended up going to like not Miss Donovan's class. Whose class? Because Miss Donovan taught English. Whose class did we go to? They had a whole bunch of like a bunch of gallon of milk left over. Now keep in mind, this is like 2000 or something like that. So this is what, like 18 years ago or something along those lines. So this is like a long time ago. 2001 or something like that. So like 18 years ago is when God in heaven, has it really been 18 years? Jesus. Have I really known Dustin and all them for 18 years? Hell's bells. So like time passes so fast. That's crazy. There's no way it was 18. God, 18 years. Damn. Anyway, so God, time passes so fast the older you get. It's bonkers. So anyway, we go to her class and we grab these gallons of milk. Now we had gotten this idea, or no, they had gotten the idea off of Jackass, because they had an episode of Jackass back in the day called the 1 gallon challenge. And the idea was that the human stomach can only hold a gallon of milk. And it was to see who can drink the most of a gallon of milk without like throwing up everywhere. And so we go over there and we're like, okay, they're like, hey, we're doing the 1 gallon challenge. I'm like, what the hell is that? And they basically tell me exactly what I told you. I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm down with that. So keep in mind, it's a hot summer day, right? Like 85, 90 degrees. So we grab these gallons of milk, we jump into Sloan's car, we drive all the way out by Paulus's place, over there by like way out in the middle of nowhere. And we're all standing out like this empty field, right? And so we're just like, okay, like let's start chugging milk. All right. So we get halfway through it and everybody is just miserable. Everybody's so miserable. We're like, this was not a very good idea. This was a terrible idea. This is not a very good idea. Everybody's just absolutely miserable. And yeah. So we're in the middle of doing this whole thing. Paul's got the furthest. He got the furthest out of everybody. He had maybe that much milk left in his gallon. I had something like that much milk. I could hardly do it. And so like I'm sitting there trying to finish it. They're like, hey, we'll be right back. So I'm like, okay, cool. And like they jump into Sloan's car and drive off and leave me in this field. And I'm just like, what in the hell? I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. No idea where I am. I'm like, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. Now I was a new friend in the group. And as anybody will tell you, when you're the new friend, you get hazed. That's just the way that goes. And that was them hazing me. So they take off. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what in the hell is going on? And like they take off and they're gone for like 5 or 6 minutes. And then eventually they come back and they pick me up. And we end up going over to Paulus's house. And for the next like 2 hours, everybody's just sitting in bathrooms, because Paul's had like 4 or 5 bathrooms in his house. Everybody's just sitting in bathrooms. Like we're just, and we are pushing out the milk in various ways. If you want to use your imagination on that, take that for what it's worth. But we are all miserable human beings. We are absolutely miserable. But yeah, no, I want to say that was maybe like a couple weeks. No, that was a couple of weeks after Paulus had his LAN party. So back in the day, like we were all huge into StarCraft, and we had this LAN party around the time the Brood War expansion came out for StarCraft. And so like for those of you guys who never played the original StarCraft was great. The Brood War expansion was amazing. Dude, StarCraft Brood War was awesome. Dude, it was so cool. Because I want to say Brood War did things like give the tanks mobility. the ability to like move around and shoot and things like that. Although I don't remember off the top of my head. I mean, hell, it's been 18 years and I haven't played StarCraft in like 17 of them. So nonetheless, Dustin was amazing at StarCraft, by the way. That was back when Battle.net was like, it was hilarious. You go into Battle.net and it would say things like noobs only, like, cause somebody needed to pad their ego, I guess. I'm not really sure. But anyway, so Paulus was like, hey man, I'm having this big LAN party. So grab a computer, bring it out here and we'll have this LAN party. And we all crashed there overnight. So I get over to Paulus's house. Right? Like my dad drove me over there, like take my computer, go in there and like set everything up. Dude, Paulus has like this massive spread, like 13 pizzas, like nachos. Dude, his mom pulled out all the stops for everything. Like it was the craziest thing. And that was actually when I first met Rachel. That was his younger sister, Rachel. That's when I first met her. That's when I first met Clark, I think. I want to say I met Clark before that. That's when I first met a handful of people. Josh, no, that was when I first, not Josh. God, what was his name? Yes, Josh. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Okay, that's when I first met Josh. A handful of we used to go to the Young Life Club back in the day. There were two types of Young Life clubs in the city of Lexington. There was a Young Life Club that did what they were supposed to. Then there was a Young Life Club on like the South Side, like where all like the crazy super rich kids lived. And like contrary to what you might think, they were totally unbehaved. Dude, they would just get absolutely hammered and they would spend the whole time partying. They would just get drunk the whole time. There was one guy who owned a bike. He owned a motorbike, and dude, girls loved him because of the motorcycle that he owned, and they would want to like ride on it all the time. That was JP. Now that I think about it, that was JP who owned it. And no, that was JP who owned it. Him and Fish, I think, moved out to California, actually. And Fish became a cinematographer. And I think JP became a doctor or something like that, like a surgeon or something along those lines in like Southern California. I don't know what I haven't talked to him in a long time. I need to get caught up with him because they both go surfing all the time. That's all they ever really do is just surf and work on projects and stuff. But anyway, so they had like this huge spread and everything, like all this food and all this crazy stuff. And like we spend the whole time like just playing StarCraft and all that kind of stuff. Well, it gets around to like 2 or 3 in the morning and we're getting bored of StarCraft. We're like, let's go do something else. So like everybody goes downstairs and it's not everybody, like by that point, all but like myself, Dustin, Yates, Sloan, Paulus, and like a couple other people had left, and like Paulus's younger brother Matt, like he was there. That was back when EverQuest was a big game, and Paulus and them were huge into EverQuest. I don't know how many of you guys remember that game back in the day. I never really was a big fan of EverQuest. I was never a big fan of like those MMOs, like World of Warcraft, stuff like that. Never really got into those. Those were never really my thing. But nonetheless, so like we're all sitting around the table, sans Matt. And they're like, well, what are we gonna do? And it's like, I was like, dude, I have a really good idea. They were like, what? I was like, we should suds a fountain. And they were like, oh, dude, we should do that. So like, we're sitting here like, okay, like we're trying to figure out how we're gonna do this because we've never sudsed a fountain before. So here we are, like a bunch of high school kids, 3 o'clock in the morning on like a Saturday morning, and we're just like, okay. So we go out to Meijer, which back in Lexington at that point in time, Meijer had like just been built. So you had like Meijer and like 2 other stores, like Old Navy and Target or something like that. And so we get out to Meijer and I'm not wearing any shoes. So like, I was like, okay, I'll go in there and I'll grab the stuff. So I go walking in there with no shoes on, and there's a security guard, right? Like Paul Blart Mall Cop comes, he's walking along and he was like, sir, you have to leave. And I was like, why? He's like, because you're not wearing any shoes. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, like, let me buy this and then leave. He's like, no, you have to leave with that. I was like, but I mean, I have to go through that exit anyway. So at least let me leave with what I came with. He's like, sir, you can't, you have to leave, right? Guy's working the graveyard shift at a Meijer as a security guard and thought he was like the most important person ever. I'm like, look, man, if all the choices you made in your life led you to this as like a 50-year-old security guard, can you really be full of yourself, man? And so like, it was it was crazy. So the guy goes, the guy goes out. I'm sorry. So I end up going out. I get out there to where they parked. They're gone. Nowhere to be found. And I'm like, what? And I was like, I know they're not hazy. Like they're not leaving me hanging or anything. So I'm like, where in the heck did they go? Well, then like suddenly here comes Yates out of like dude, guy jumps out of a crack in the ground. Like he grabs me and he's like, dude, just keep walking. Like he puts his hand on my shoulder. He's like, just keep walking, man. And I'm like, what? He's like, just keep walking. So like here I am walking in the middle of a Meijer parking lot in my socks and some jeans and a t-shirt. All right, it's already kind of chilly outside. And I'm like, what in the heck? And they're like, just keep walking. So come to find out, what had happened was there was a car that had pulled up next to us, and like the guy had given Sloan and all them a funny look. And so when the guy got out of his car and went to go leave, they grabbed a flashlight and started shining it inside of his car like they were gonna break into it. Guy turns around and he's like, "What are you doing?" Like they jump into the car and drive off. And that's why they vanished. So I was like, what in the hell, man? So they end up coming back around. They grab me, they grab Yates. We end up taking off. We end up going to like a Walmart or something like that because they wouldn't let me buy any detergent. And so I was like, okay, because our idea was we were gonna buy like Tide detergent. We thought that's what you could use to suds a fountain. All right, we were in high school. All right, so we were like, that's what you can use to suds a fountain. So we end up going somewhere else. And so like Yates or somebody rolls. No, we didn't. We ended up going to. All right, I'm not gonna name names for the sake of this. We end up going over to like, we end up going to the grocery store. We buy Tide detergent and then we buy eggs. And we go over to this guy's house who was like, dude, this guy was a dick. Like he was so, had such an overinflated ego about himself. So not naming names, we drive to his house. We're like, yeah, man, he lives right there. So we pile out of the car. All right, we pile out of the car and we go to throw eggs, right? We go to Egg's house. The first egg hits and the lights come on and we're just like, damn, son, I guess their house gets egged all the time. So we finish it up, right? Like we throw these eggs, it's like bam, 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 bam. We jump in the car, we peel off, right? I mean, it's like, dude, at this point, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, right? So it's like, skirt! It's like tires squealing, loud as hell in the middle of this neighborhood and we peel off. Then we drive over to a friend of ours, Hippie. I don't know whatever happened to him. We drive over to his house and we roll all the windows down and we start blasting Sweet Home Alabama by Leonard Skinner, shining a flashlight into his house. Eventually he opens the window and he opens the blinds. When he does, we take off. We bolt out of there. So we circle all the way back around to Paulus's neighborhood. All right, and then we get out of the car. We're like, are we ready to suds the fountain? They're like, yeah. So we get out of the car and Paulus has this box of detergent, right? Like this box of Tide. Now, Paulus, like I told you guys a story about Paulus knocking out Will. So like you guys, Paulus was like dude, he was strong as hell. All right, so here comes Paulus with this box, right? Paulus, like he takes a step back. All right, he runs up and like flings this thing, like shot puts it all the way out into the fountain and nothing happens. Like nothing happens. We're just like, well, that sucked. And so we end up going all the way back to Paulus's house. His mom's awake by that point, so she realizes that we'd all left. Paulus was grounded for like a week. Dude, it was one of the greatest nights I ever had. It was amazing. Like it was crazy. It's almost as crazy as the night that I imagine Daniel had when he went to a party and then woke up and woke up on the side of the road next to a McDonald's. I don't even know how he got there. I don't even know if he knows how he got there. He just woke up there on the side of the road in the grass next to a McDonald's. I need to bring him on here and have him tell that story because Daniel has some amazing stories from back in the day. But yeah, no, it was one of the funniest experiences. A LAN party turned into egging a house, turned into blasting Sweet Home Alabama, shining a flashlight into a dude's house, which ultimately led into trying to suds a fountain and failing miserably. It wasn't until later on we realized that like you had to have something like palm olive and you had to like gash it and then throw it in there in order to make it work. But yeah, no. It was pretty funny. Sudsing fountains was all the rage back in the day. I don't know how many of you guys ever knew about that. Like a lot of you younger guys now, a lot of younger people. I don't know how many of you guys know about that, but back in the day, it was all about sudsing fountains. You just take palm olive, you would gash it, you throw it into like a fountain, and you just watch the bubbles just grow. And there's nothing they could do about it. They'd have to take it out, and they'd have to like filter the whole system out, like clean it all out, and then refill it again. So it was like a huge pain in the ass for the city. But it was funny. Like it was a hilarious thing. Somebody did that. Let's see. They did that at Thoroughbred Park. At the Thoroughbred Fountains. Then they did it at Triangle Park downtown in Lexington at the Triangle Fountains, which was hilarious. So there's like these step fountains, and it's just like soap suds everywhere. It was the craziest thing ever. But yeah, no, it was bananas to see like the whole thing unfold, to see it happen. It was kind of hilarious, but I don't know. Anyway, it's just one of those crazy situations that happens when it comes to all that kind of stuff. But anyway, guys, I figured I'd tell you that story. Figured it'd be kind of fun, and yeah, we're gonna bring this video to an end. And I will catch you all later. Peace.